3.
Hey everyone, welcome to the Idiomanic Top 3.
With Nicholas, I am the gaming correspondent for Idiomatic.
And I am Dimitri, editor-in-chief of Idiomatic and movie critic. As we did last year, by which I mean just 6 or 7 months ago, which is when we posted the episode, we're going to do our little farewell to the year. We are going to list our top 3 worst moments of 2012, or our bottom moments of 2012, I guess is what we should call it.
Indeed.
And our top 3 best moments of 2012 each, with one caveat. Entertainment related.
Yeah.
Loosely a little bit. I know we're going to touch on the news a little bit and all of that.
The news is entertainment.
In the case that we have in mind, definitely.
Yes.
But, you know, anything related to politics and whatnot, we're going to stay away from. With the release of The Dark Knight Rises, a tragedy happened. We're not going to discuss it at length, mostly because, honestly, we don't want to give this guy more attention than he deserves. He's already gotten too much as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, exactly.
So why don't you get us started, Nick, with your number 3 worst moment of 2012.
Well, I do enjoy Discovery Channel a lot. Unfortunately, like in the past couple of years, especially this year, they're starting to make all these shows about different trades. They had The Deadliest Catch, which is about crab fishermen. That was kind of fascinating. Also because the captains were interesting people.
Yeah.
But now they have shows about truckers, about people who help truckers, about antiquers, about gold miners, it's like enough. This is not Discovery Channel anymore. This is like the Trade Channel. It's really ridiculous. I want to go back to Discovery where you learn about stuff, not just about, a job fair on TV. It is ridiculous.
Do you think it's caused by the bubble burst? Like, do you think it's caused by unemployment?
I guess, because now people with jobs are fascinating because they're part of the minority. So
Exactly.
like, wow. But, give it a break. It's, it's not that interesting to, learn about oil mining. It's always like, oh, they're in trouble and they can't drill anymore. Oh, we're fixing the trouble. Let's drill again. You're like, come on, guys. At least they're kind of traded that they're on the fringe there, but I fear the day when they're going to do like, Discovery Accountant. A customer came and he wanted $500 in small bills, but we couldn't deliver because we didn't have enough small bills. What did they do? Come on.
The deadliest retail.
Let's go back to, shows that were fun on Discovery. At least they still have Shark Week, but, soon they'll have Shark Week Accountant Special or something. It's like, come on.
It'll actually be like Wall Street Sharks. Alright. My number 3 pick.
Yeah.
A little bit wide scale. I'm going to start right off and go for the controversial. The success of Avengers.
Oh, really?
Yes, the success of Avengers. Now, don't get me wrong, people, you may read my review at thedreamersedge.com for the Avengers. It was a largely positive review. I didn't fall head over heels for it like a lot of people did, but I certainly thought it was a good movie.
Okay.
But it is also like the 3rd highest grossing movie now, and it is like an unequivocal success for the studio. Absolutely. And, while I wish success for filmmakers who do good movies, what this has caused is it launched the message to movie producers that, all right, more of the same is what we're going to give you. Because Marvel has been doing, 3 movies per year.
Yeah.
And they've announced 3 more, 4 more per year. It's going to be like every summer, it's going to be a superhero movie every fortnight.
But if, is it the superhero genre? But if you had the interesting characters, at least, that, forget the superhero part, and they make it interesting characters, that could be good.
Yeah, well, it's going to be Marvel House style, no less,
yeah,
on top of it. So it's going to be always the same bloody thing, Already I'm a little bit like, is there really that much of a difference between Thor and Iron Man 2? There was action, there were jokes, there were characters moving about. It was bright, it was shiny, it was breathy, it was kind of fun. It's the same bloody movie. I'm just sort of concerned that it told the studios to, okay, this is the formula that works, and now that's all we're going to get. Because certainly, already, Walt Disney has announced, we're going to release 2-3, Lucasfilm movies per year. You know, that's a lot of freaking Star Wars, you know?
Wow, 2 or 3 per year?
Yeah.
Are they insane?
Yeah. I'm hoping that what they really meant is 2, 3 films by Lucasfilm that is going to expand beyond Star Wars, but so far it sounds a little bit like it's going to be more Star Wars every year. It's like, it's sort of told studios that, oh, we can release several movies per year of the same franchise,
Yeah,
which is what Avengers has been doing for the past few years, you know?
that's crazy.
They're working on a Justice League movie the same way. It's going to be just more of the same from every studio.
I enjoyed it when, Lord of the Rings, it made you wait.
Yeah.
You had one movie, then you had to wait. And, it built the suspense and the expectations, and you saw the second one. I like that. I would not have sat through like 12 hours of movie in 1 year to see the whole Lord of the Rings trilogy.
So I'm a bit concerned about it. It's nothing against Avengers itself so much as the message it sends studios.
Yeah.
All right, what is your number 2 pick for worst moment of 2012?
Well, it's a specific thing, but it deals with a larger issue. It was like the end of House. House MD, one of my favorite shows, ended last year. And kind of linked to that is like this fall season is death.
It is terrible.
Oh my god, all the new shows are so horrible. The old ones, I'm kind of burnt out on them and I don't really feel like watching them anymore. It's like, I watch Castle and that's it. And The Amazing Race, but so 2 shows. I have 2 shows and the rest of the time I'm like zapping, watching trade shows on the Discovery Channel or, it's there's nothing to watch. It's terrible.
Yeah, well, here at Dreamer's Edge, we're supposed to review all the new pilots coming out in September. We even announced it, and then, I reviewed 2 pilots and then stopped for the simple reason that it was like I was not going to bombard the readers with negative reviews of really awful new TV shows.
Wow.
I was like, okay, I'm done. I'm not going to make people suffer through that,
I mean, just the previews of them. What was the one where the power all goes out? Revolution. And you see the previews and you see a plane fall from the sky. Like, Spartan, this is not how a plane would fall from the sky if it lost power. I mean, I know you're going for the crazy effects of things, but you're already in the commercials. You're insulting my intelligence. I'm not going to tune into your show now. It's ridiculous.
It's also like, how does that work? Like, even as a concept, like if you think of it logically, if it's an electromagnetic pulse, it's a one-time thing, and then they can restart power.
Yeah.
If it's something else, it has to stop power continuously, and it's all things electrical in there.
Yeah.
Well, the human body works on electricity as well.
Yeah.
So what the heck?
Different electricity. I mean, I guess.
It's not interesting. It's sort of like, no, we all live like Amish people. Okay, and?
Yeah, there's a show on Discovery Channel about Amish people if you want. It's like...
All right.
So what is your number 2?
My number 2. Oh yeah, that's a good one. This summer, a comedian named Tosh, who has a show called Tosh 2.0,
Okay.
was doing a show, and a woman watched the show, and he was doing his usual rape routine, which I never found particularly funny, but at the same time, look, comedy is so subjective.
Yeah.
If people laugh at that, that's their business, that's cool, and if he's making money off of that, why not? All right? I don't have a problem with that. But she didn't find it funny, and so she sort of like, actually, I never find rape funny, she said. Which is sort of like, lady, just walk out of the club. Like, don't say anything,
A club is not a place for, political, this is wrong. It's like, it's a comedy. If you don't like the comedian, go see another one.
Yeah, exactly.
But nonetheless,
Tasha's reaction was to tell her, wouldn't it be funny if 5 people in this club here raped you?
Wow.
That's not a punchline, that's a threat.
Yeah. Technically, he didn't threaten. He had other people kind of threaten her indirectly.
Yeah, he subtly suggested that other people threaten her, I guess, is what he did.
Exactly.
She ran out of there, which, wise move, lady.
Indeed.
Because you have an audience of people riled up who are already turning against her because she, quote-unquote, heckled him.
Yeah.
And usually, we don't like hecklers. Nobody does. You're into something and they're here to spoil your party. We want to do something aggressive to you. And he's pointing out as like, well, sexually harass her. Nobody was going to whip out their penises or anything, but they were probably going to grab her and fondle her because they think it's funny. And it's like, that's sexual trauma.
Yeah.
Like she ran away. Nothing happened, to everybody's credit, but Here's what bugs me about it. A, like, okay, like, Tosh is a douche. Like, let's put that clearly. Look,
Yeah.
there's many ways of dealing with hecklers, and I understand you have to deal with them. Threatening rape, probably not the most intelligent one.
Yeah.
And two, it's everybody's reaction to it. Because suddenly there was a big debate on as to whether rape is funny or not, whether a comedian should have the right to do whatever he wants in terms of his comedy content. It's like, it's missing the point. Tosh did not make a joke.
Yeah.
He made a threat.
That was not a joke, saying, wouldn't be that's not part of the comedy act.
Like, a joke needs a punchline.
Exactly.
And if the punchline is this woman getting sexually assaulted, that's not a punchline.
Well, to play as advocate, you can't argue with results, though. She left.
Yeah, although when she got up, I think she was already ready to leave.
Oh, okay. She wasn't just saying, I don't find rape funny. Do other jokes that are different so I can enjoy them.
No.
Okay.
Well, according to her blog, she was getting ready to leave because she was so uncomfortable.
Oh.
Look. That lady, by her own admission on her blog, which is very forthright, missed a good occasion to shut the fuck up. And that's one offense, but it doesn't compare to the offense that followed, is what I'm saying.
That is true.
Whether or not you have freedom of speech, that doesn't take away responsibility of speech,
Yeah.
When you say things, be responsible for them, is what it comes down to.
Indeed.
Anyway, what is your number one worst moment, the absolute worst moment of 2012?
Worst moment of 2012 is the hockey strike that's going on right now. People who are suffering from this strike is not just the players and the owners. Oh man, they're not making millions. I feel for them. It's the small businesses that depend on them.
Yeah.
Like all the restaurants around the arenas, or the concession vendors at the arenas. They're those jobs. It's money for them. And if there's no hockey, those restaurants are empty, and they're not making jobs. And especially in this economy, it'd be something important to have. A little boost. Hockey, so that people can help them a little bit, and not just have businesses closed down because you can't agree on how many millions one person has over another. I think it's ridiculous.
No, I agree completely. The thing about it, it's because maybe American listeners and certainly European listeners won't really necessarily understand what we're talking about as much because we're in Canada, where hockey drives a lot of the entertainment economy. It really does. Okay, so I made the Canadian joke about not watching Big Bang Theories because CTV has replaced the 2-hour block of NHL with 2 hours of a Big Bang Theory, which to me is like, yeah, because jocks really want to watch, not nerds. But like you said, it drives so much of our economy. Like in Montreal, they moved the arena from one end of downtown to the other, and the end of downtown, which is called the Old Forum, like for 10 years, like turned into like a ghetto.
Yeah,
because it's just that much money being wheeled and dealed by hockey.
Yeah.
And so, like you say, at a time of recession where everybody's sort of struggling, especially restaurants, whenever there's a recession, the first victims are always restaurants.
Yeah.
And you take away the night where everybody goes out.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So it's the owners, Gary Bettman, and the players need to look farther than just it's us versus them. They need to realize there's other people, and not just the fan looking at we miss hockey, but there are a lot of other players than just them. And stop looking at yourself and start thinking about other people besides I'm not getting an extra 1.3 million if I'm not playing. It's ridiculous.
No, I agree, and I'm one of those people who don't mind them making millions because they drive so much of the economy.
Yeah.
It's it's offer and demand. Look, if you have that much power that you can create that much trade, then make all of that money because everybody wins.
Good for you.
Yeah, but if you're striking for $1 more million and taking all of the other industries that justify you making all those millions, then F you, buddy.
Yeah, exactly. What is your number one?
It's the nerd backlash we've had a taste of this year. I mean, it's been a long time coming. It's been increasing more and more every year. I certainly remember all the homophobic and racist comment towards Indians that we've had when The Dark Knight didn't get nominated for an Oscar, but Milk and Slumdog Millionaire did.
Wow.
But this year it's been crazy. The Avengers, before it came out, reviews came out, largely positive from everyone except one or two critics, and they got lambasted with, threats, death threats. In the case, it was a woman reviewer that gave a negative review to the Avengers, so she got like some of the most misogynistic, racist, and rapey comments.
Wow. If you enjoyed the movie, that's the important thing. Who cares what somebody else thinks about it?
Exactly. They did the same thing with The Dark Knight Rises, which, to be blunt, it's for me, it's an okay movie, not an amazing one.
Yeah.
So I'm not surprised that there's more than a few critics that went like,
Yeah.
you know.
That was my reaction coming out of it.
And the same phenomenon happened like on two movies in a row. It's sort of like, especially with The Dark Knight Rises, given the context that we mentioned at the beginning of the episode. Like, what are you doing? Like, grow up.
Yeah. I think that's something to do with fanboyism.
Mm-hmm.
There's a study that says that basically if you insult something that a fanboy likes, it's almost like insulting their god. Insulting the god of a religious person. They have the same visceral reaction.
Yeah, no, I think you're right, but I find it curious, like another event that happened this year that's pretty important that I deliberately didn't mention because, again, it's one of those things where I don't want to give them more attention than they have already got. But, of course, the Muslim uprising in the Middle East after, one really crappy YouTube movie from a douchebag.
Yeah.
Everybody in America is completely willing to sort of call out the people in those protests for being like, look, it's a YouTube movie. What the hell are you doing? But if you disrespect Joss Whedon, oh my god!
Yeah.
Really, come on. If you're pointing out to somebody getting offended because he insulted Muhammad and going like, you don't have to get up in arms. You don't get to do that over freaking Joss Whedon, for heaven's sakes.
Yeah. I agree.
All right, let's switch to some positivity really quickly.
All right.
You're number 3.
Number 3.
Best moment of 2012.
Best moment has to do with the recent election of President Obama. Since the beginning of the year, there's this guy, Nate Silver, has a blog, 538.com, and he's been following all the polls, every state, and basically making averages, and with his models, he's able to make predictions of, what's going to happen. And even though all the big mainstream news medias were saying, it's too close to call, it's a horse race, his models were saying, no, Obama's going to win readily. Towards the end of the campaign, Obama had like an 80% chance of winning or so. And people just attacked his models like, oh, he doesn't know what he's talking about. They even attacked him, he looks gay and effeminate, so his models can't be right. But it showed out that 50 out of 50 he was able to predict, pretty much very close to the margin in which each of them won the state. And yeah, so basically that event was great to me because it shows that, data, facts, numbers, science is better than just gut feeling of, I think Romney's going to win. I have this gut feeling about it. And I was like, well, no, the numbers are not showing it. The numbers are showing Obama's going to win. And that's what happened. It was a great moment for nerddom for me, so...
Power of math.
Yeah, congratulations, Nate Silver.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think one of the things is it exposed a little bit one of the problems under big newspaper companies being owned by a douchebag like Rupert Murdoch.
Yeah.
Is what it comes down to. Because saying, look, Obama's going to win doesn't sell papers. Saying, it's too close to call, we'll tell you more next week, sells papers.
That's true.
And I think that's what happened. And all the news organizations are just trying really hard not to tell you the truth, because if they tell you the truth, they're not going to be able to sell newspapers that are supposed to tell you information.
Yeah.
I mean, it's...
Not opinions, information they're supposed to say. And, it's not like the guy was doing witchcraft. He was just averaging polls. I mean, how can you argue with that?
In fairness, Rupert Murdoch was too busy to do the math because he was busy hiding a pedophile over at the BBC. So
yeah, That's true.
But yeah, no, it's great to have, a blogger of all things.
Yeah.
But, to have sort of these beacons of like sanity left somewhere.
He even predicted like Florida was too close to call, so his model is like 50.5% chance to be Obama. And it took them 3 days to announce Obama won. So even that, he was predicting how close things were. It's like,
although predicting that Florida would dick around was not exactly so. It's like you don't need to be a scientist to predict that.
That's a good point. And at the end of the evening, he twittered, "I think it's a good time to plug my book," and he linked to Amazon, and that book became #2 on the bestseller list.
Oh, that's fantastic!
Yeah. So he also won the election night.
That is fantastic.
Yeah.
I have nothing but praise for the guy. Certainly, I mean, I've seen him in a couple of interviews. Like, here's the thing: math, like all sciences, can be explained. It can be presented with evidence and things like that. It doesn't have to yell at its guest or
Oh, so on that note, what is your #3?
My #3, I was tempted to name Gangnam Style Success as my #3.
Oh, wow.
But it got successful for all the wrong reasons as far as I'm concerned. So instead, I'm going to go with something that's a little bit peculiar. The success of The Hunger Games, the movie adaptation, this year with Jennifer Lawrence. And the reason for that is it started a whole new franchise to replace Harry Potter and Twilight that's just ending this year as well.
Yeah.
And here's the thing. It's the first tween book franchise that I've read the first book. I haven't read the sequels yet.
Yeah.
That's, good. That's actually well written. All these kids are going to flock towards a book that's actually well written.
Cool.
I mean, no offense to J.K. Rowling. I think she's a great plotter and she has a good sense of character, but her prose, like on Harry Potter, was like, how many adverbs can you fit in one sentence? And nothing but contempt for Stephanie Meyer's prose. But
really, she's that bad?
I find it unreadable. I really do. And I think if your kids start writing this way, it's very unfortunate.
Okay.
But Susan Collins, I read The Hunger Games and went like, this is cleverly written. This is very cleverly written. So,
good.
Yay, literature. All right, what's your #2 pick for best moment of 2012?
Well, I'm going to stay with politics a little bit. The Fox coverage of the 2012 election.
It was pretty funny.
Oh man, on election night, I've seen comedy shows that got me less laughs than that. It was spectacular when they called Ohio for Obama and Karl Rove exploded. And he went on his rant on you're not supposed to call it that early, and they had like Megan, what's her name, go to the decision booth, and it was like 1 minute of seeing her walk through the halls of Fox News, and they're like, you don't have anything better to show us than her walking, seriously? And then they go talk to guys that were like really not ready to be on TV, and they're like, how sure are you about Ohio? 99.5%. And it was like, oh, it's over. And then all the mood in Fox, they all went like, super down, and the blame game started. And the blame game was like, it was horrible to listen to, honestly, but he's like, yeah, it's Fox News, so you expect it.
It's one of those things where, I mean, I'm sure there's the hardcore Fox audience that won't let go because if they've stood by so much of the misinformation then before, they certainly won't change their minds now. But for me, it's sort of like, if you were on the fence on it, it confirms that Fox News is not a news network.
Yeah.
Like, because the backlash, especially when you have Bill O'Reilly essentially saying, well, actually, he said what one of our politicians said after a referendum 10 years ago. But he pretty much blamed it on anything that's not white.
Exactly.
And he didn't even get kicked out of TV for that. It's sort of like, look, if there was anything that was going to discredit you, it just happened.
Exactly. Anyway, what is your #2?
My #2 pick is related to the Olympics. That's happened in 2012, the London Olympics.
Yeah.
What I love about it is the number of athletes that they kicked out for tweeting racist comments.
Nice.
There's two reasons why I like it. A, I congratulate the Olympic Committee for upholding the spirit of the Olympics.
Yes. Yeah, that's the point. People, especially in the US, that might be lost, but the Olympics is not meant to, reward medals. The Olympics is just celebration of amateur sports. It's supposed to promote amateur sports all over the world, the spirit of, kinship.
Yeah.
and unity, yeah. So, when you start insulting other athletes because of their, because of their race, you're kind of completely past the point of, deserving to be there.
Absolutely. That's my B reason, is that they're also remembering that it's a privilege to be in the Olympics. And if you're not behaving in a way that is the best that your country can represent, both philosophically and as an athlete, then you don't deserve to be here, and will remove that privilege without any qualms.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah, it reminds me of the badminton sorry teams that were like losing on purpose so they would get an easier way through the through the tournament, and they weren't even doing it well. They weren't even pretending to lose well. It was obvious. I mean, they were world caliber athlete and they're serving into the net. Come on. I play badminton. I don't serve in the net, and I'm not nowhere as good as they are. It's ridiculous. And again, they all got disqualified. Get out, because it's not the spirit of the game. You're supposed to push yourself as hard as you can. That's the spirit of the Olympics. And they were saying, well, it was more advantageous for us to win in the tournament if we lost. It's like, you're still missing the point.
No, the Olympics could cost billions of dollars to the host country.
Yeah.
It is an enterprise that is more costly than it is gainful on the financial level, definitely.
Yeah.
It's a huge thing to organize. The only thing that justifies its existence is what it represents for the world. If you don't uphold that, it's worth crap. And if you're going there to win a competition, go win it at a professional sport. Go win it at the NHL, the NFL,
Yeah, or you did the World Championships, fine, do that there. But the Olympics,
The Olympics stand for something greater.
Yeah, the whole world is watching the Olympics,
Yeah.
I'd say be on your best behavior, but honestly, if you're the kind of person that would, tweet those kinds of remarks, even best behavior, you shouldn't even be there.
Exactly.
I mean, it's ridiculous.
And I love that the committee just went like, no, we're not about a competition. We're not about commercialism or anything. We're about an ideal.
Indeed.
All right, is it your number one? Yeah, your
Yes.
number one pick for best moment of the 2012.
Well, I watched a little show in the summer called MasterChef. Mm-hmm. This year, there was a contestant that was blind. And she won it. She was a spectacular cook. And, without her eyesight, she managed to use her senses and make spectacular dishes. So that's already a good on their own. But what's even better is, she was how can I say, indignant about, her remarks about her being blind. And, the host being pretty insensitive about her blindness. And she pretty much showed it.
The producers were insensitive. Gordon Ramsay was insensitive.
Yeah.
And the rest were patronizing.
Yes, I would say that, yeah. I mean, just the questions how do you think the other contestants are doing? It's like, I don't know, I'm blind. You could really hear the annoyance in her voice. And, at one point she managed to replicate a dish, a sashimi dish that looked awesome, by the way. But she replicates it perfectly like what it looked like, and she did just by feel and by taste and memory. And Ramsey is like, are you really blind? I feel like I'm being punked. You're like, yeah, ask a blind person if she's really blind. Especially a person that used to have sight and that lost it. Yeah. So she had sight, and she cooked with sight. Now she's losing it, and she has to do without. It's probably very hard for her. And to ask her, are you really blind? It has to seriously, man.
Yeah, and I love her answer. Very polite, but a little bit dry, which is the perfect tone.
Yeah.
I wish.
Yeah.
It was like, in your face, Gordon Ramsay.
Yeah. And the worst is the comments about her, being Vietnamese as well. She in the finale she does a Vietnamese dish, and it's like, oh yeah, it's something that it could be completely served in on a street shop in Vietnam, but this is MasterChef. She can still make that kind of dish MasterChef quality. It's not because it's a Vietnamese dish that it's crap.
But
seriously.
yeah, the Italian judge, I forget his name, Joe.
Yeah.
Joe was a little bit incensed by that comment. But my favorite bit though that you didn't mention is when they gave every contestant a surprise, which was a photo of the family.
Oh yes.
She's like, what is it? Can't see. It was fantastic.
Yes. They got a MasterChef book with their picture on the cover. I guess you could feel the book, but it was so. Geez, seriously, we probably have to give her Where's Waldo book in the same sense. Come on.
But here's the thing: what makes this moment all the more delicious, because I agree with you, this is definitely one of the best moments of 2012. Her presence in the competition and her being rewarded with the prize. It's the fact that she presents herself, at least, I don't know how she is in real life, but certainly from the looks of it,
Yeah.
as a terrific person.
Yeah.
She is always polite to her contestants. She never talks trash about anyone.
Yeah.
But she stands up for herself. She never uses her handicap to milk a sob story or anything.
Yeah.
Or hides the fact that it's a handicap
Yeah.
in the competition. Like, I understand the notion of handicapable, and I understand how that's a philosophy that allows you to function much better in life. So, if you have any sort of impairment, I don't want to say, like, oh, you're being a hypocrite by saying it's not a handicap. But look, if you're in a competition of cooking where you have to reproduce something that everyone can see but you can't,
Yeah.
that's a disadvantage.
It is.
And she never hides from that fact. Like, they ask her, is like, what are you nervous about? Well, this is the sort of food you have to cook in the oven, and I can't look in the oven, and I can't feel my way into it either without burning myself. So, yeah, I'm really nervous about this one. It's like she acknowledges what she's capable of doing and what she's incapable of doing.
Yeah.
She's such a smart and mature and fascinating person.
Yeah. And she even said she wanted to be treated like, like a cook. She's like, I don't want to be an inspiration. I want to be the master chef.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It was terrific, and the fact that she stood up to all of Gordon Ramsay's awful, insensitive comment without ever losing her cool, but still making it very clear to any listener or watcher paying attention that, like, hey, like, that was not cool.
Yeah.
Again, I don't want to sound as if, like, oh, she's an inspiration. I'm saying, like, look, if somebody was that condescending to you, well, to me at least, I'd be losing my crap. Like, I'd be like, yeah, you know what? Go up yourself, yo. Like, I'd
Yeah.
be really mad. And, like, has perfect composure, but yet is not a pushover. She's fantastic.
Yeah.
My top moment. Yeah.
What is your top moment? Yes.
Yeah, my top moment. You've probably heard a lot about it because the news kept pouring in over and over, making the news last forever. But George Lucas sold LucasArts to Walt Disney. All of it for something like $4 billion, which is more than his net worth before the sale, by the way.
Wow.
Yeah, and here's the thing why I like it. Okay, most Star Wars fans will react positively by going like, finally, somebody's taking it away from the hands of George Lucas, who's, let's face it, hasn't done a terribly good job with the prequels. They're bad.
Yeah, they're bad.
But what I love about it is George Lucas gave most or all of the money to charity.
Okay.
That means he gave more than his previous net worth to charity.
Nice.
His life's work, LucasArts, he just gave it away to people in need of education in impoverished cities and countries.
Nice.
That's fantastic as a gesture.
Yeah.
And to top it all off, he gave an interview where people went like, well, aren't you going to be sad to leave Star Wars behind? I was like, no, it's time to give it to new people. Besides, look, I've made 3 prequels. They were independent movies, because he always makes independent movies. The Star Wars movies, for all of their gloss, are actually independent movies. People often forget that. And I put my heart and soul into it, and people hated them. So I don't really see the point of making more.
Did he actually acknowledge that people hated them?
Yeah.
So he's not actually living in the glass bubble that we thought he was.
He never was, and that's what I love about it. It was really a case of this guy reaching a point in his life going like, you know what, I poured my heart and soul into making these, and I'm not making anyone happy. The hell with the Star Wars fans. I wash my hands of them. I'm not even going to profit from this sale. I'm going to do something wonderful with it.
Yeah.
And I'm done with this chapter of my life. I am done with the rabid Star Wars fans who keep calling me a rapist.
Yeah.
And I love it because it proves one thing, like you just said, he didn't live in a glass bubble.
Yeah.
For the longest time, I've had to listen to people treat George Lucas as if he was taking the Star Wars franchise as seriously as they were. Which he doesn't.
Yeah.
Because nobody could. Like, a lot of people wanted Lucas to be a bad human being for making such a bad movie.
Yeah.
And you've heard a lot of people sort of twist reality. He produced a movie with a black director and an entirely black cast.
Yeah.
Lucas, Red Tails.
Yeah.
And then the studios, none of the distributors wanted to distribute it because they said, well, nobody's going to watch that. It's got black people in it.
Yeah.
And he got really pissed off and were like, "This is why I'm an independent filmmaker, and I never, like, despite all my money, I never cooperated with studios. Like, I'm so incensed about that."
Yeah.
And I understand why he's incensed. I think that's very idealistic of him.
Yeah.
But the way it was reported by fanboys who were still angry about how awful, and again, it was awful, episode 2 was,
Yeah.
went like, "Oh, Lucas yelled at his black director for being black." Like, they totally changed
What?
the story to make Lucas the racist because they wanted him to be a bad human being
That's
for making
ridiculous.
a bad movie.
Yeah. They're just movies.
Exactly.
You know, they're bad movies, but, you know, in the end, they're just, you know, the 3 original ones are good movies and those are bad movies. You know, if you're basing your life's fundamentals on those movies, it's the wrong franchise, but I'm going to paraphrase William Shatner and get a life. Seriously. Yeah, like, why do you use an apple? Because Bill Gates is the devil. And it's like, well, sure, Bill Gates is the devil. He gave half of his fortune to charity, while Steve Jobs gave $0 to charity. So yeah, the devil's pretty freaking generous with his money. I think it's the same situation here, you know. So yeah, I mean, he's a nice guy. He just, you know, a little incompetent, but, you know, nice guy nonetheless.
But he's a good producer. He's a bad screenwriter.
Yeah.
Is what it comes down
Yeah.
to.
Yes. Anyway, that was the year.
That was a year in review. If you want to share your best and worst moments of 2012, like even your personal moments, we'll read them.
Yeah, exactly.
I just got married. It's like, yeah, I'll read
Yeah.
that and I'll congratulate you. You know?
Indeed.
Write us at mail@idiomatic.com or post a comment at idiomatic.com just below the episode. We're also on Facebook. We're also on Twitter. And we're also on iTunes. See you next time.
See you next week.